Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to another Irish stew video. Another video where I just pull together random stuff that happens to be on my mind or that I happen to be watching or hearing or whatnot. I went back to this Irish stew format during last week when I had a large freelance deadline hanging over my head, and even though I've dispatched with the deadline, a lot of you seem to like these videos, so I thought we'd do a little bit more of them, and then if you get tired of them, we can stop. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the world, and then YouTube, and then BookTube, and then me. We'll try to go in that order. And the world news, at least to an extent that a lot of Americans don't realize, how much the rest of the world is watching America's descent further and further into fascist rule. Now, the rest of the world is largely watching that complacently or even with a little bit of a smug smile, because the rest of the world doesn't realize, most of the rest of the world that I've seen, the commentaries that I've seen from not only people on the street, but foreign commenters, news commentators, most of those people don't seem to realize that this is not 19th century Prussia falling to fascism. This is the most powerful nation that has ever existed in the history of the world. And if it falls to fascism, no one is safe. No one is complacent. No one gets to be. So all the people that I see online saying or typing or tweeting or whatever, you Americans, boy oh boy, I feel sorry for you. You know, a little bit of the smugness you should probably remove, because this is going to affect you. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is the state of your own country's trade balance with the United States. But this is going to affect you. But the whole rest of the world is watching that, and of course they're watching the development that is now in the news to such an obvious extent that even the fascist complicit mainstream media has to acknowledge it, which is that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is smoothing the machinery to normalize the idea that a president will send troops to occupy cities he doesn't like, cities that are critical of him. That is totally illegal, and that is also a hallmark of authoritarian rule. I don't know why that is happening. I know why Trump is ordering it, because he wants to be a dictator. But I don't know why it's happening. I don't know why a single troop, not a single National Guardsman, is obeying. I don't know why that is. I don't know why the people whose contract it is to supply the food, the rations, the ammunition, the clothing, I don't know why they're obeying. I don't know why they're going to work. Those people, the quartermaster's assistant, I don't know why they're going to work. Unless they're all MAGA. I don't know why there isn't institutional resistance. I just don't. That is the one aspect of this country's fall to fascism that really, really surprised me, is that there's no resistance. Effectively, no resistance. And so, for our world segment, since the whole world is looking at Trump's threat, his threat now is Chicago, Portland, and Boston. 3 cities that he says are hellholes, 3 cities that he says are steeped to their eyeballs in murder. Factually isn't true. Visually isn't true. People on the ground, no. People who live there, no, that isn't true. The governors of those states, the mayors of those cities saying, no, it is against the law for you to send troops unless we ask for them or unless there's an insurrection. There's clearly no insurrection, and we're not asking for them. This will be illegal. No, we do not want you. This is illegal. The people of those cities saying, no, we do not want you. This is illegal. He's going to do it anyway. Because there is no institutional resistance. There are no courts. There are no congresspeople. The people who are actually involved in doing it, not just the people in the uniforms, but the people gassing up the trucks, the people supplying the rations, the people in the clerical office whose job it is to stamp and cut the checks every month. All of those people should be refusing to go to work, and rather than help a system that is turning guns on their own fellow citizens. And they're not. They're not stopping that from happening. So the punchline, the motto, the moral of the world segment of this Irish stew is directed at you. Do not comply. At all. when this happens to your own city. Do not comply at all. Not at all, no matter what. No matter whether or not you think that what the National Guard or the federalized troops or whatever are asking you might, in fact, be legal, still say no. Don't do anything. Don't comply. That means, well, I would, but I've got a cat at home and she needs me to feed her and she needs her medication. And if I mouth off to this guy with a gun, he could haul me away. And who knows if I'd ever see my home again. Nevertheless, don't comply with anything. Nothing at all. If anyone wants to search you, hi, how you doing? Boss wants us to look at backpacks at this particular subway station. Yeah, he doesn't like the look of it. He saw it on TV, and we want to keep the boss happy, and he doesn't like it. So you could just step over here, step out of that line, step away from that turnstile, and open your backpack. Don't comply. Don't do it. Even if it means that they have to drag off 100 people an hour from every single place where they go. Drag them off by the shoulders. Drag them with their feet bumping along the ground. Don't comply. That is an illegal search. It's an illegal even to demand it. It's illegal. All of this is illegal. You are not an occupied country. So that would be my motto. None of you are going to pay any attention. I've learned this already. That's part of what I was saying a minute ago. I've learned already that the most patriotic American in the world, faced with the prospect of missing their favorite TV show or a hot supper, will instantly surrender their freedom, all of their liberties, all of their civil rights, instantly surrender. What? Take it all. I got to be back by 6:30. Look, I had a long day. You want to search my bag without a warrant, signed by a judge, without probable cause? You want to do that? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. You want to search my phone? Go right ahead. I got to be home by 6. I didn't expect that. And all of you who grew up in the lap of the greatest personal liberty that any country has ever provided for any of its citizens, the United States, you should be damn well happy when you look back on that freedom, which you're giving away now. So if you live another 10 years, you won't have it at all. You'll be looking back and remembering it. If you've enjoyed that liberty, you should be thankful that the men and women of Boston, occupied by the British 200 years ago, didn't say, look, I got to get back. My dog's waiting for me, or I want supper. Supper's on at 6. Do whatever you want. But anyway, that's a grim opening. That is world news. A lot of outlets that I've been watching have been paying attention to whether or not the president is going to send armed troops into cities. That is war. That is warfare. It is, of course, a complete abrogation of the oath of office that Donald Trump took, although he did not put his hand on a Bible or swear to the oath, because he knew he wasn't going to keep it. He had plans. He has had plans for years, and they don't involve upholding the Constitution. The oath that the president takes says that he will defend the country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that he will uphold the Constitution. And one of the strongest provisions of the Constitution is the penalty for people who wage war on the United States of America. You send troops into a city where the governor and the mayor are saying we don't want them, and the law says you can't do it, and you ignore the law and send the troops anyway, you're making war. And when you are in a city that is under siege by a foreign invader, you do not help them. But anyway, let's move on to YouTube. Unfortunately, the focus stays on Trump, but this time it's at least a little bit funnier. Like all authoritarians in history, he gave an edict to the authority that oversees the U.S. Open, the great tennis tournament in Flushing Meadow in New York, that they were not to televise any criticism of the boss. So if there are signs, don't show them. If there's booing, turn down the audio. Or we don't want to hear it. We don't want that to be in your clips. And that association agreed, even though that is Soviet Russia. And again, my question is, why did that happen? Why did that association agree? That association is not a thing on its own. It's not a big curtain blowing in the wind. It's made up of humans. It's made up of Americans. Why didn't they all refuse? Why, as far as I know, none of them refused. As far as I know, no one resigned. because of that agreement. It's the compliance that is mystifying me. That is what's really confusing me here. Just across the board compliance. So that alternate news can show that a few thousand people showed up for a rally in D.C., which is under military occupation, or Chicago, which is having military occupation threatened. And it's barely enough people to cover 2 city blocks, when everyone in the city should be out. Anyway, that edict went out, and it didn't matter, and that's wonderful. That edict went out in the world that, as I've mentioned before, the Trump regime lives in. The Trump regime lives in a world that of their own desire. They want it to be 1949. Separate drinking fountains, no women in the workplace. They want to eviscerate the social safety net. They want Jim Crow back. And because they want to revive that world, most of them have taken to just living it preemptively anyway. And so they simply do not believe that people have cell phones. They don't believe in timestamps or audio recordings or video recordings or anything like that. So an edict went out like that because if you give that edict to the press, don't show that President Roosevelt can't walk, well, then no one will know. No one will have any idea. There isn't any other way that they could know. So, of course, there is now ample footage of Trump being hilariously, very unmistakably, loudly booed every time he showed his face at the U.S. Open, which is that is the YouTube things that's all over YouTube. It's all over all of social media, is footage of him being loudly, raucously booed by everybody at the U.S. Open. A few diehards in red hats, but otherwise no. So that's YouTube. It's not much. But that's what I've noticed in the last 24 hours. And then for BookTube, something wonderful. iSamwise, channel that I really, really like, has decided to take the plunge for Sumerian September. September is, among other BookTube events, the time for Michael K. Vaughan's celebration of Robert E. Howard and all things Conan. This particular month is all things Robert E. Howard, so not necessarily Conan, but all the other stuff that Howard wrote. But iSamwise has decided to take a challenge and read something that is entirely possible for the month of September. It is entirely possible in 1 month in September to read every word of Conan that Robert E. Howard actually wrote. Not the pastiche novels, but all of the original stuff. And that's fantastic. That's an incredibly wild reading adventure. It will have its ups and downs. There are some stories that make a little more sense than others, but you have those Ballantine trade paperbacks with original illustrations all throughout. What a way, if you can find that set, what a way to experience this character. So I'll leave a link to that channel. I strongly advise you to subscribe to iSamwise's channel. And then we can come to me. And with me, there isn't much going on. There was a storm a day ago, and then yesterday it persistently rained all day long. So it was dark, and the Bean and I were cooped up in here. She doesn't like to go out in the rain. She also doesn't like to go out when it has recently rained, when just the ground is wet. She really, really hates that. But all of that's over now, and we have what looks to be a promised week of beautiful, clear weather. Clear and dry and cool. So pleasant during the afternoon, during the height of the day's heat, and nice and chilly at night. Perfect for, well, you'll all miss it because you'll be asleep. Although a lot of you use the phrase perfect sleeping weather. Perfect for being propped up on pillows in the bed in a little book room reading as God intended, without needing to worry about the AC unit churning away, without needing to worry about being too hot or whatever for the little bean. And the me detail, aside from the weather, the me detail that I wanted to include here, I wish that people were still watching. I wish that people watched longer than the first 60 seconds, because it's a hoot. It's an absolute hoot. You World War II fans are going to find it an absolute hoot. I was messaging back and forth with David Murphy, and David Murphy, of course, for those of you who maybe don't know, is our World War II guy on BookTube. He's constantly trying to be something else. He wants to be a Civil War guy, but he has lots and lots and lots of books on World War II. And we weren't messaging about World War II. We were messaging about I don't even remember what it was, other things. But at one point, he mentioned Boston. Sorry, this has been cracking me up all night. He wrote a message about Boston, and his iMessage auto-corrected it to Bastogne. Again, you World War II people will get that. And my first thought, I messaged him this. My first thought was, when I tell them that your autocorrect autocorrected Boston to Bastogne, they're not going to believe it. And then I realized, no, they're all going to believe it. So that is the bit about me that I had to include. And other than that, it's been a pure, peaceful, wonderful day. I went out first thing this morning and did a whole bunch of errands and went to the Brattle Bookshop and had, once again, the troubling impression that maybe I'm not fit to go out in public anymore. Maybe. I used to work in downtown Boston. I used to walk around there all day, every day. But I don't know. It seemed more feral, more rude, more abrupt. And that could easily be me. That could easily be just that I have mellowed into a pattern where I'm very fortunate that I can earn my daily keep without leaving this couch. So I spend all day in my beans company reading and writing, and with occasional strolls outside up in the neighborhoods where there's nobody. The streets are leafy and empty and quiet. It could be that desensitizes you and maybe makes you, unfits you for being out in the hurly-burly of company. But I'm back now, and I plan on taking it easy, writing and reading until further notice. So there you go. There's an Irish stew video for you. No idea if these are engaging, but I'm happy to chat about all these things that are on my mind, and I could not keep to myself that idea that David's autocorrect changed Boston to Bastogne. Anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.